Here's Charlie Dickens, chapter 28, entitled Vengeance. Charlie went back inside the building. It was hard for him to walk as he was so shaken up, and the bats flew out over his head and made him duck and bring him back to his senses. You look like you have seen a ghost, said Tinker, noticing his face as grey as a rainy day. Charlie smiled. Tinker didn't know how accurate he was. Charlie decided to keep everything to himself. He didn't want Tinker to make fun of him, however harmlessly. Luckily, Tinker and the bat had grown bored of each other. Let's get out of here, said Tinker, taking charge as usual. He was easily bored, and as he didn't have a vivid imagination to escape into, unlike Charlie, he was content in the real world. Meanwhile, Bob was sat on a creaky deck chair with a beer in his hand, and when he heard the cry of a bat, he was reluctant to put down his frothy can of beer, but he gave in, and he lifted up his huge, greasy binoculars up to his vengeful and curious eyes. And he was pleased by what he saw. Welcome to my world, he said, as he spied the two figures in the distance walking slowly from the old tumble-down ruin. Bob was still hoping to be friends with them, but he was slowly realizing that it probably wouldn't happen. He knew he had a tendency to scare people away. Bob hadn't had many friends in his life, and the bitterness and pain swam in his stomach like acid. Then he remembered all of the name-calling at school, and the words came back to him like a bad memory. Odd Bob, they had chanted as he cowered in the corner, with his trousers bursting at the knee and pen and scratch marks covering his face with all of the bullying. He resembled a clown in tears, but the tears soon turned to anger. He crushed his can without realizing it, and he reached for another. His only friends were the moon and the stars, and that was how he liked it. Trust no one, his dad had said, after he had worn himself out beating him with an old belt, and Bob had taken his advice to heart.